This is Jackie Helvey, and I'm here with Damon Seils, who is a town council person and recently announced that he's running for mayor. And I have to tell you, Damon, that when I read that Lydia wasn't going to run again, you were the first person who came to mind for me, because I've lived in this community since 1979, and you are the most responsive elected official I've ever dealt with, and I thank you for that.
Thank you, Jack.
You know, it's great to be able to email you and know that I'm going to get a response always, so that's wonderful. Congratulations for being so great.
One of my goals to be responsive. It's,
you are.
Not 100% successful all the time, but I try.
You're pretty good at it. So for folks that don't know you and don't know anything about you, tell us a little bit of your history and what you do for a living when you're not town counseling.
Sure, yeah, people I think forget sometimes that we have these other lives.
Right.
I actually grew up in Texas, was born in South
Oh, I'm
Texas.
sorry.
Yeah, sometimes I feel that way. It's a great place. I was born in South Texas, but grew up in Austin, which is a wonderful city. And my parents are there, and I just got a chance to go visit them a couple of weeks ago for the first time since before the pandemic.
I meant to ask you how that was. It must have been great.
Really great just to be able to spend time with them, stay in the old house and all that. So,
right.
But then I went to school in D.C. and lived in D.C. for several years. Basically through most of the 90s I lived in D.C. And then
what took you there? School or?
School, yeah. A friend of mine had gone, who I grew up with in the neighborhood, went up to school in D.C. and loved it, and she kept telling me, you have to go. So I followed her up there and stayed for a while, stayed through grad school, and then found my way down to North Carolina and followed my job.
What is your job?
So in my day life, I work at Duke at the medical school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I've been there since I first moved to North Carolina in 1999.
What do you do over there?
So I work in research communications. So I help faculty promote their research, talk about their research, develop materials for communicating with participants, and everything related to communicating about a clinical research project.
Oh, okay.
So that's been my job for a long time over at Duke. And it's taken a few twists and turns, but it's a good place to work.
Well, that's good. So how long have you been in Carrboro?
So I landed in Carrboro right away. It was just, kind of like a lot of people, just dropped into Carrboro by accident. A story that I tell people a lot is, back in the late 90s, really one of the only things I could find out about Carrboro on the internet, having not ever been down here before, was that there was a gay mayor and a lesbian police chief. And I thought, I think I might be able to live there.
I'm there.
So
I remember the first thing I found was the drive-through window dispute at Wendy's.
That was before my time, definitely, but I've heard about it since then. But I really was just like a lot of people who end up in Carrboro, especially coming right out of grad school. I was looking for an affordable place to live, where I could afford to rent on an apartment. I didn't know anything about North Carolina. I'd never really spent time here. But having grown up in Austin, which is also a big college town, I figured, well, I knew Chapel Hill was a big university town. I'd probably be pretty comfortable around here. Found a place in Carrboro, and that's it. So I've been here since '99 and haven't left.
Well, that's good. I got lost and ended up in Carrboro.
Yeah, I feel that way sometimes. Still feel that way.
And found my way. Well, how long have you been on the town council / board of alder people?
Right, started out as the board of aldermen. We're now the town council. 2013, so about 8 years or so. Came in a special election to fill a vacancy on the board.
Who did you fill? Was it Dan?
It was Dan Coleman. So the board at that time called a special election to fill the vacancy, and I ran, and here I am.
So you must have been pretty young back then, huh?
Well, I'm not as young as you think I am.
You have that youthful look.
That's right. But I've spent, my entire 40s on the council at this point.
So you're running for mayor now. What are the key issues, in your view, that Carrboro is facing in the future?
Yeah, I think you'll hear a lot of common answers to these questions about what's our challenges are right now.
What
big
has
one-
your focus been while you've been? Have you had a focus?
I think it's probably fair to say that one of my main focus has probably been around planning, land use planning, and transportation planning. It's just an interest I took up when I started getting involved in local politics in Carrboro several years ago. I got myself onto the planning board and really dove into that work and loved it. And since that time, really focused on the importance of planning for our future in terms of how we create and maintain this built environment that we love around us so much, and in a way that supports people and allows people to thrive in their everyday lives. So that's been a big important focus for me, and I've carried that through my time on the council, focusing on expanding public transportation, and the comprehensive plan was something that I know you're very fond of and working on very much today, is something that I've been advocating for a long time, since back in my time on the planning board. And
You got
so
a
to
plan
be-
for the future.
Exactly. So, to be in this place where we are now, where we're kind of moving through this comprehensive planning process with Carrboro Connects, and it just it's nice to see that thread running through all the work over the last many years.
And it's nice that so many people in the community have become involved in it. I wish there were more, actually,
Yeah.
because it does seem sometimes like it's the same people who.
We always wish there was more engagement, but I have to tell you, Jackie, watching the engagement in Carrboro Connects has been really incredible. The level of engagement, I think, is probably unprecedented for our community, certainly in the time I've been here, which is not as long as you or many others. But we got a report on the town council just a few nights ago about the results of all of the engagement that's been done for Carrboro Connects, and it was really impressive. And it's been with all kinds of people in the community. It hasn't been
Right.
with just the people who can show up, right? Because
Yeah.
somebody held a meeting at the Century Center or something like that. It's been really intentional in trying to draw people in from all parts of the community.
And the
that's-
pandemic was actually good in that respect because it was all done online in Zoom. So I think probably a lot more people.
I think for some
became
community
involved.
members, it maybe made it more accessible.
Yeah.
We still have challenges with folks maybe not having access in that way, and so we had to think through those challenges. We also still will continue to have problems with language access. As you know, we have a lot of people in Carrboro whose first language is not English, but
Right.
we've even been trying to make some progress there in terms of engaging in Carrboro Connects.
That's been an issue for decades,
Yeah. I think one of the ways that we really got started that has shaped the process so well is by working hard to put together that steering committee, the task force that you serve on, and make sure it covered all the bases, right? And it's full of people who have been engaged in the town for a long time, both through the advisory boards and through community organizations, but also just general community members who were looking for a way to represent their own parts, little pockets of the community.
Right.
So it's a really amazing cross-section of Carrboro, and I think as you found and what I've heard from other committee members, you're all learning from each other.
Exactly.
Which is incredible, right? So you're learning
And
from
meeting
each
each other.
other. That's right.
Yeah.
And learning, you said you've been in Carrboro since 1979, and you're still meeting these new people and learning from them about their experience of Carrboro and why that's important. And ultimately, like you said, this is about planning for our future. Decisions that we were making, that Carrboro was making back in the 70s about zoning and land use and transportation and all these issues, that shaped what we have around us here today.
Exactly.
So these decisions you all are helping us make today are going to shape what Carrboro looks like in another 30, 40 years.
Right. So when is the election this year?
This year's election is in November, as usual. The reason there's such a flurry of activity around the elections right now is because the candidate filing period starts coming up in July. And so everybody's starting to get their announcements out. But after that, I think things will calm down a little bit until the kind of late summer, fall campaign season.
Well, like I said, I just think you're the best, and I thank you for coming today and having a little chat with me. And I really do hope that you get elected because you care about Carrboro, and that's what it's all about.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.